That's it, yeah. Yeah, good. You alright? Oh. Yeah, nice. Kung Fu, yeah, absolutely. Oh. Learn to cover that. Good. Oh, nice! Nice! Ooh. This is our Apollo Creed. Oh, nice. Oh, very nice. Oh, sorry. Oh, nice. Yeah. Oh. Oh, yeah. Oh, right. Face one. This one. Oh, I didn't even play the game. Oh, no. Yeah. Oh. Oh. I didn't know whether I was up or down then. Everything went black with little blue flashes.
Well, that was just over the eye, wasn't it? Over the eye.
Yeah, chi power. Not everybody's how you hit somebody with your chi.
The chi of my heel.
Yeah, exactly. Oh. You right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at that. One finger stop.
Master, teach me your secret. There was the rule of the Mongol nation. Oh. And origins of Bagua. Yeah, still at the martial arts.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh. Oh. My face. Oh. You right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yours is better. Oh. Yeah, I'm just looking for an opening. Just looking for an opening. Oh. You right?
Yeah.
I was walking soon. Whatever.
That's enough shot. You got to rake it.
I was actually going to
start an eyeball shot back to
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that goes black actually.
Yeah. Nice.
Nice.
I can still see.
Good. Exactly.
Hello and welcome. I'm Eli Montague, head of the World Tai Chi Boxing Association. This is Lee Evans, senior representative for the WTBA as well, and my personal training partner. On this video, we're going to be giving a demonstration of why we do push hands, how we train push hands. It's not a teaching video. I'm not teaching you how to do push hands on this tape. I'm simply showing you why we do push hands. Okay, so the first thing is in push hands, most schools around the world have the wrong idea of push hands. I see people doing push hands all over the place, and they're doing push hands for the purpose of doing push hands, for getting better at push hands, for beating other people at doing push hands. What use is that? So you see people doing the big old, this sort of other foot.
Gotta do it right.
Yeah, you gotta get it right. Right, this one.
Can't even do it anymore.
This kind of push hands, big low stances, big movements. This kind of push hands only teaches you how to do push hands. It teaches you how to play, how to wrestle, how to push people off balance. It's not teaching you about fighting. When we learn push hands, it's a training tool to teach us the body mechanics of self-defense. So everything we do in push hands, even though it's a pushing exercise and we're not actually punching each other right at the beginning, it is a pushing exercise. However, the pushes are done with an intention of striking. So just a basic example, if I do a movement like this, say, that's obviously a push, it's not a strike. However, if I do this, it's nothing special, I'm just giving him a little shunt. However, it's teaching my body how to, in the long term, how to do an actual strike rather than how to push someone back. So when we're doing our pushing part of push hands, we must do it with the intention of striking and fighting, not of playing a game of push hands. Okay, the first thing that we do differently in the WTBA to most schools of push hands is the stance. And that is what I was just saying, we do not stand in big low stances when we're doing our push hands. These kind of stances are in the system of Tai Chi Chuan for the purpose of health and muscular strengthening. So we do our slow forms, this kind of stuff. We do that in our low, large stance to stretch the legs, to open the energy channels, to build strong thighs. We do not, however, want to use these kind of stances for anything to do with self-defense for a number of reasons. A, this is where, see, Lee was ready there for something to happen from where he was. He's not standing like this when he's standing at the bus stop. So you do not want, if say for example, okay, we're at a bar or a pub or something, and I do that movement, and I've for instance gone to strike, just push him over on the chest or something. If he's trained all year long in a stance like this to practice his balance, he stands like that, he's going to get knocked over. So what we want to do is, we don't want to rely upon a large stance to stop ourselves falling over. We want to be able to use a small stance to get out of the way and re-attack. A small stance enables you to move through your balance. A big stance only gives you balance in one stationary position. And fighting is all about moving, it's not about staying in one place. Another thing the big stance does for us within push hands, as you were seeing there, if we take a large stance, like this, okay, when Lee pushes onto my arms, that's it, when Lee pushes onto me, what happens? I push onto Lee, see what's happening here. He's pushing onto me, I'm sitting back, I push onto him, he sits back. We're creating a forward and backward motion like this. What's the first thing you learn in self-defense? When somebody attacks you, don't move backwards. If Lee attacks me, I've moved forwards, out of the way of his line of fire. You notice I didn't just move straight forward. I've moved up, forward, and to the side in whatever it is that he's going to do to me. If Lee attacks me, and I move backwards, see? I couldn't attack him at the same time as he attacked me, because I stepped back and defended, in which case his second strike comes in, and his third, and I can't do it, and he steps on my foot, and then I'm gone. In our small stance, the original way of doing push hands, now, let's do it that way so the camera can see. Now watch, when here, stop there, just do that push. When Lee pushes on me now, I'm not going to sit back to evade his movement. Watch what happens. I've moved my body to the side. So he's done the same attack, he's done a pushing attack. It's still just a push. At the moment we're still just training pushes. He's not trying to punch me in the face, he's just doing a push. So he's going to push on my arm, push on my wrist, and push on my elbow. If he just pushes, you see, I'm going to go backwards. So to defeat that, I evade that, not by sitting backwards, but by shifting my weight now. Now when I shift my weight will move to the side. This is all to do with self-defense. Long stance, shift your weight has to go back. Small stance, shift your weight, you move to the side. And this is more realistic for self-defense. So now I'm shifting my weight to the side. I've completely evaded his force, but I'm in a position where I can re-attack with whatever method I may want to use in that particular situation. So this is another reason why we use the small stance. Small stance is for mobility and evasion whilst attacking. Everything in Tai Chi Chuan and any good martial art is that when we defend ourselves, if we're doing a defensive motion, the defense always must have some form of attack within it. Same as the attack always has some sort of a defense in it. For example, I'm not just going to throw an attack at Lee like this. That's throwing an attack with no defense. I'm going to throw an attack like You see? I've got my guard there whilst I'm throwing my attack. So there's always defense within your attack. Same with your defense. If Lee just throws a simple hook punch and I just block it, that's just defending. He's going to throw that and then that, and I'm just going to keep blocking things. If he throws that attack, there's always attack within your defense. And that's what we're doing now. Again, big stance. This is purely... You've forgotten how to do the big old silly push hands. This is now purely defensive movement. You can't re-attack from that position. You could possibly say that, oh, okay, as he attacks in, I'm moving back and pulling him down in some way. But a movement like that simply isn't going to work against a fast punch, as I say. A big movement like this, yeah, you could say, well, the pull is the attack, but it's not going to work against any realistic attack. And we've got to base our self-defense on what we're actually going to get attacked with in the street. You're not going to get a Tai Chi player attacking you in the street going to go like this. Some bloke just coming straight up and throwing attacks into your body. So you must prepare yourself for realism, not for playing games. Of course, in our small stance now here, as I say, I've moved to the side. Now, when we're doing our push hands, this is push hands now, right? Okay. I'm not hitting Lee every time I move to the side. I'm not punching him in the face, because I'm just practicing the structures of my body. I'm learning about the movement without full-on hitting each other. This is basics. You've got to learn the basic structure of things before you go on to hitting people, of course. But the intention of the movement, when I move him to the side, I've used a motion that can later on lead me to hitting him there, you see? So this motion here, like that, can lend itself to that, or can lend to that. It can move in and elaborate from that position. Whereas, as I say, this will never teach you and put you on the right ladder to get up to a self-defense basis. Okay, big stance versus small stance. Again, just a couple of other things. Big stance, if Lee's pushing onto me in some way, push onto me, I've got a fairly good amount of balance here on that, from that rooting into the back leg. However, if Lee doesn't push me straight into my back leg, and he pushes me slightly to the side, very easy to push me off balance. In a stance like this, sure, okay, same thing. If he pushes me to the side again, I can readjust my feet to stop myself falling over. However, if your feet are this far apart, you've got a very large, you see, basically in any stance, there's always a place where there's no leg, because we're only two-legged creatures. So there and there are where I've got no leg. So if I'm pushed in that direction, it means I have to move my leg, otherwise I'll fall over. That's just simple. If my stance is this big, I have this much of a gap at the front and the back of where I can be pushed, to be pushed off balance, to lose my balance. In which case I have to do quite a large movement to regain my balance. If I'm in a small stance, that point of which, that area of which I can fall over has now gone from this to this. So he's going to have to really know what he's doing in order to find that point where I've got no balance. But even if he does find that point, I can move my feet very, very simply, because they only have to move a couple of inches. So if he pushes anywhere, I can simply move my feet around now. Fighting is all about moving. We do not practice fighting from a single stance. Who would ever teach you how to fight without moving your feet? Your feet are the most important thing. Body placement is the most important thing in fighting. And therefore it comes into our push hands. Now, when we're practicing push hands, of course, if, say, for example, okay, we're just doing our normal push hands as beginners. So we're not hitting each other, we're just doing push hands. If I'm going like this and I'm going, see, that's me falling over. I don't want to be falling over. I don't want to have to move my feet under that kind of pressure, because that's a very soft pressure. He's not issuing that much to me. I should be able to deal with that without moving my feet. Because if I use 100% of my skill to defeat such an easy attack, that means when he ups his level, I'm going to be defeated. So if he's doing something very easy and soft, I should be able to defeat this with a very small shift of weight, just to shift my weight to the side. If something more violent happens and he's attacking, now, you see, now I'm going to start moving my feet and getting out of the way of what's happening. That can, you never know where that's going to be. It might be straight forward, it might be a little bit back and then back in, it could be anywhere, but you're moving your feet to stay mobile. This is why we have the small stance. The way that we push in push hands, whether it be double push hands or single push hands, is to train the body, train the muscles in the body rather, how to hit things rather than how to push things. This is another reason the small stance comes into play. I'm going to use single push hands to demonstrate this principle. Okay, single push hands, I'll just show you what single push hands is. This is single push hands, if you haven't seen it before. So it's using all the same principles as the double push hands, but just using one arm. So you're taking the pressure in, you're grounding that through the ground using your pung structure, delivering the force, again evading by shifting the weight to the side, not shifting the weight back as we were talking before, but just using the one hand. So this is where we start, of course, before we move on to double push hands. But when I deliver my push to lead, again, if I take a big low stance, I can do my push without a problem. However, in this stance, now, because I know how to strike, I can go in this stance and still do a movement that is using the correct muscles as if I'm striking. But that's because I already know how to strike. If you don't know how to strike, if you're a beginner learning push hands, if you put yourself in a stance like this, you're going to be much more likely to, for instance, use this back leg to push and receive back, and now push off the back leg. That's now training your muscles in your body to push people. As soon as you bring your feet in, sure, you're still going to get it wrong when you first start. You're going to be pushing yourself off balance and doing all sorts of mistakes. However, with your feet this close together now, you can't use your legs. There's not a leg back here to push from. It'd be like trying to roll start a car with your feet like this. You just couldn't do it because you can't push something like this. You've got to get your body weight down and push from your back leg to push a car along. You can't push a car from a small stance. So this is why we do our push hands like this, because you can't push from a small stance. So therefore, what can you do? You can strike. In the small stance now, when I apply the pressure into lead, I'm using all the same muscles now in my body as if I'm doing that. All the core muscles in my body, I'm using a twisting power rather than a pushing power off the back leg. My feet are still active, my legs are still helping with the power, but they're gripping the ground. They're holding in like this. There's torque between my legs. They're holding onto the ground, moving like this and forward and back to enable my waist to push through and deliver that punch, which is what we're doing in the pushing. So this is what I mean by when we're training push hands, even though it's a pushing exercise, you're training and developing all the correct muscles and connections in your body to develop strikes and not pushes. Okay, pressure. Everyone's always asking me how much pressure there should be in push hands. Well, this is going to vary, obviously. The way it will vary is simply depending on what you feel like doing in that particular day. Sometimes you might just feel like just doing a bit of push hands. Other days you might feel like having a full-on sparring push hands, if you like, where you're actually attacking each other, like what you saw at the beginning of this video. However, push hands should never be done from a sense where it's sloppy and soft. A lot of people teach push hands from the point of view that you must always be soft. Everything is soft. The classics of Tai Chi say that we must be like steel wrapped in cotton, or iron wrapped in cotton, this kind of thing. This means we are solid, but we're soft on the outside. So it means that, for example, if Lee throws a punch there, this kind of thing, this is hard on the inside and hard on the outside. If Lee throws that same shot, Now, this is hard on the inside. He's still getting hit hard, but my body, I still feel relaxed in my attitude, rather than feeling like this in my movement. What it means to be soft is simply only using the right amount of pressure to get the job done. Tension is important. We have to have tension in our Tai Chi training. If you didn't have tension in your form, you would be lying on the ground. That's the only time you can not have tension in your body, is if you're lying on the floor. If I wasn't using tension right now, my legs would collapse. The reason people think that the arms must be soft is simply because they're not used to tension. Most people, because we walk around, we do everything on our legs, most people can hold a stance like that, for example, and still feel quite relaxed. So they're holding their low stance. Oh yeah, that's okay. If they've never done it before, they might feel a bit of tension in their legs, but generally speaking, people are okay with this. They can still feel soft and calm whilst their legs are under pressure, because they're used to that. However, as soon as you apply that pressure onto the arm, people go like this, and tension comes into the arm. They're like, oh, that's not Tai Chi. Oh, okay. We better, no, that's not tension. We'll have to do it softly then, like this. This is how we should do our push hands now, because Tai Chi is meant to be soft. I've been practicing push hands since I was a little baby. So in which case, I'm used to tension coming into my arms, just like everyone else is used to the tension in their legs. So when Lee pushes on my arm, I can still be soft and loose. I don't feel like this. I feel soft. But at the same time, I'm still totally solid within that softness. You cannot defeat someone without using tension. It's impossible. Anyone who tells you that he attacks and you use soft methods in some way obviously hasn't ever been put under real pressure in any kind of fight situation, whether that be a real fight or just a simple sparring session. Even if you're the best evader in the world, let's say, for example, Lee comes in with something and I do, it's totally soft. See there, I didn't use any tension. But how can I possibly stop him from actually attacking me? I can defend myself softly, to a degree, but I can't finish the fight. To finish a fight, you have to hit him. You can't hit someone softly without tension. It's just not going to do anything. If I want to hit him, I've got to use tension. I've got to twist my waist, bring it up through the ground, activate through the waist, extend my arms out, and strike him. I have to use tension in order to finish the fight. Sure, you can use, maybe if it's not such a serious situation and he's not a raving lunatic coming at you with knives or something, you might be able to use some kind of a locking motion, like an arm lock, a throw, a trick, these kind of things. You still can't do those without tension. If Lee, I don't know, just has his arm there, say, and I want to lock his arm, okay, he's holding tension in his arm, right? How am I meant to move it without using tension? I could try to do this or something, but he's still got tension. I can't finish the fight. This is the purpose. This is what I'm explaining. You can't finish a fight without using tension. And realistically, you can't actually defend yourself, unless it's a not serious situation. But if Lee full out attacked me, there is no way I could defend myself against him being soft. So we don't do soft push hands. We do our push hands as if we're training for the street, but with pressure. When that strike there, that pressure there is simulating the same power as if there's force coming from some kind of an attack. Because if you can't stop a simple little push from blocking your arm in, from collapsing your palm, then there's no way in hell you're going to stop a full-powered strike from coming over the top into your body. Okay, so the levels of pressure within our push hands. When we first start training, of course, you do it softly. Do not do this. You're learning push hands, right? Learning push hands. This is going to teach me all bad technique. If I can issue force, whilst remaining loose in my body, fantastic, that's great, that's what we're aiming for. But you can't expect to do that from square one. If you try to use too much force when you're learning push hands from a beginner's perspective, you're just going to use tension and you're not going to learn the correct body mechanics of what you're trying to learn. My rule with anything that you're learning is that when you're trying to learn something, you've learned a set of techniques or something, when your body is put under pressure and stress, you will revert back to whatever you know best. Most people, what they know best is using tension. Basic example, let's say for example, Lee is a grappler. He's trained grappling all his life, okay? Grappling's fine, grappling, not dissing grappling at all. Grappling is a fantastic art, and a really good grappler, you're going to have a hell of a hard time stopping him getting you on the floor. However, grappling will only work one-to-one. Any good grappler will tell you that, otherwise he's obviously never been in a fight with two people. Because there is no possible chance. Sure, Lee might come in for something, and okay, let's just stop there. Let's say, for example, he's about to take me down and get me on the floor, for example. What's he going to do when he gets me there? The only way a grappler is going to stop me, because he's not hitting, strikes, if you're good, are going to knock people out in the click of a finger, if you get your strike in. If I get a good solid strike right on Lee's throat, he is going to stop hitting me. For a grappler to stop me from continuing my fight, he's got to do some kind of an arm lock, break my arm, leg lock, choker hold, something a restrictive type of action. That's fine, as I say, a good grappler, split second he can get you in a sleeper hold. However, the sleeper hold is still going to take 3 seconds to put me out. In which case my mate is standing on the side going boom and kicking him in the head. Finished. You can't grapple two people. That's why I always say grappling is not a very good self-defense method. It's great if you want to go out and attack someone because you can pick out one person and go and attack him. But 2-on-1, you got to strike. There's no question about it. So Lee's a grappler. I'm trying to teach him how to punch, right? So let's say, for example, I'm teaching him a basic method of I'm going to throw a punch and you're going to do just a pung block and a punch to my throat, right? So I'm teaching him that. If I just stand here and go, okay, right, that's fine. He's going to learn how to do that because I'm not attacking with too much power. If, however, I throw the attack and go like this at him, do something else and put him under pressure, he's going to revert back to his grappling because he's been put under pressure. And of course, that's what should happen. That's what you want your body to do. Because if Lee's a top-trained grappler and he gets attacked tonight as he goes home, he doesn't want to try to learn, he doesn't want to try to use this technique that he's just started learning to defend himself. He wants to learn whatever is in his subconscious to defend himself. Whatever you're best at is what you should use in the street. So what I'm saying is, you can't use a method under pressure until you've done it enough to make it a natural movement. So when we're doing our push hands, when you first start practicing, this is not a natural movement for you. So, what am I doing? I've got to do this, got to do this. You're learning all these new things. So, in turn, we've got to be soft. Okay? We're going to learn the mechanics, learn all the postures, get it right first, get the timing right. If you feel a bit kind of funny, even doing it in this kind of pressure, then you're not going to learn anything by doing it harder. As soon as you feel, like if I'm teaching someone and I feel, okay, this is going well, he's got good coordination, he's moving well, okay, now I'm going to start upping the pressure. But I'm not going to up it straight to start to hit him, I'm going to gradually up the pressure. Just increase the pressure, then I'll start putting attacks in. The attacks will start as simply attacking his structure. If Lee's, say, in his pung hinge position, he's about to do pung and loi. If I feel his pung is weak, for example, I'm not just going to just push him like this and allow him to do the movement. If I feel he's weak, I'm going to, see? So it's still soft, it's still being calm about it. I'm not punching him or anything, because I don't want to put him under too much pressure if he's a student. But he's learnt now, oh, that's no good. Look, fingers in the throat, fingers in the eyes. So now you can go, okay, I've got to hold that a bit stronger to make sure that doesn't come in, because later on I'm going to punch you, and if this doesn't hold up to a push, it's not going to hold up to a strike. So we work our way along like that. Always start off slow. increase the pressure. Stay pushing for a really long time. Do not go, oh great, okay, we've learnt that, next step. Let's start hitting each other. You're not learning anything new. You're not learning Tai Chi Chuan by doing that. You simply learn a basic little drill, and then what you're doing is you're just boxing. You're just doing what you can already do. That's not going to teach you the advanced applications of Tai Chi. You have to first allow these movements to become a part of your body before putting yourself under real pressure. And of course we have all the other training methods, such as in the forms, the sanshaos, the drills, as well as our push hands when we're practicing. This pressure will go up and up and up and up and up until you get to the point where, if, for example, I'm training with a student and I'm teaching him, if his structure is weak, I keep attacking his structure until he doesn't have a weak structure. So as I said, if his pung is weak, I'll attack his pung. Once that's good, it's like, oh, okay, that's good now, I don't have to worry about attacking that anymore. Let's say, for example, his elbow's up in the air. That's a bad structure, obviously. So I'm going to go, okay, put him in an arm lock, I'm going to attack his elbow. If this elbow is up like this, I'm not just going to push him across and continue my motion. If his elbow's up, again, I'm going to put him into a lock. To teach him, don't put your arm up in the air. Once I have taught him all the correct structures in the body, so his push hands is working for him, the structures of his push hands works, then it's like, okay, I can't just attack him here because his guard's there. I can't attack him here because his elbow's there. There's nothing I can do to attack him. So now I go to the next stage where I've got to go, okay, I've got to actually start moving now. Whatever it might be that I might want to do, like what you saw in the demonstration earlier. So that's when you go, okay, there's no more holes in his guard, so I've got to make some holes. I've got to move and attack him, open his guard. That's where you just get into full-on sparring, basically. You just start attacking each other, but from push hands. One of the key points that we learn in push hands is reflexive action. All very well to go, okay, we're standing here, shaping, okay, let's say I'm teaching Lee how to defend himself. This is not teaching Lee how to react. This is teaching him good practice, good technique, learning how to deal with heavy force, this and that. It's not teaching him how to react. Because he's standing there waiting for me to punch him. When you're stood at the bar, you're not standing there waiting for the other guy at the bar to attack you. Evening. So, what we want to do is in our push hands, as I say, if I'm just coming in, bang, he's doing something, he's there waiting for something to happen. From our push hands though, now, the push hands itself takes your mind off what's going to happen. If we're just stationary, there's nothing to take our mind off what's going to happen in the next area of training. Okay, so now when we're doing our push hands, as I say, I'm not doing my push hands like this, like, when's he going to hit me? 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 I'm not trying to think, when's he going to hit me? You just do your push hands. Close your mind, empty your mind. Forget about what's going to happen. You start having a chat. You start checking out things around you, looking at people walk past. Put your mind elsewhere. This trains you for reaction. Because your mind's elsewhere, you're not waiting for him to attack you in some way. You're simply da-da-da-da-da, what's going on? Bah! What's going to happen? And then, yeah, that was nice. You got in there. You're learning how to instantly react. With two advanced practitioners, such as ourselves, you're pretty much obviously going to get hit as much as you hit, because we're both on the same level, in which case I'm going to get hit 50% of the time, Lee's going to get hit 50% of the time. You're never going to get to a level where you're untouchable in some way. You can be untouchable against a beginner, of course, but we're both training here. So, this is where we get into the point of reflexive action. So, we're here, we're learning about switch off the mind. Your push hands itself teaches you all manner of structures and balance and timing and everything else as well. But the main core to it is that it stops you from thinking about what's going to come next, and it stops you from actually getting hit. Because you'll react instinctively rather than thinking, if I'm thinking about what's going to happen, oh, I've got to do this, and then this. You can't do it like that. You've got to move like what you've seen before. There was no time of thought. As soon as he moves, my body moves, or vice versa. Okay, types of attacks. Anything. Absolutely anything you can do. course, a more practical attack, in my opinion, would be okay. I'll say, for example, from here, I might roll him over and, I don't know, punch him in the throat, for example. To me, that's a practical attack. Something that's not a practical attack, in my opinion, is, for example, me going, wah, wah, and doing some kind of a back kick or something into his head. However, that doesn't mean I won't do it. You must do all manner of any type of attack you can possibly think of in your push hands training, because we are not training each other to defend against each other. I don't want to train Lee to defend himself against me, because I'm never going to attack Lee, he's my friend. So I'm going to teach him how to defend himself against other people. So, I'm just going to do any kind of attacks, but what I'm saying is I'm not just going to do the attacks that I'm most comfortable with, and this is where we get to the point of push hands is not a competition. If I come to here and do an attack like that, I'm going to think there's a pretty good chance I'm going to get the strike in, because I know that's one of my favourite moves, so there's a good chance I'm going to get it in. If, however, I'm going like this and I go, he's going to get me first. However, I still have to do that because, and I've done this several times with people, and it's been done to myself when I used to train with my father when I was a young child. I would be in here like this, for example, and I was getting really, really good at defending all the really nice attacks, all these little central line attacks, the small circle attacks that Dad would throw at me. But my mind got focused here, and basically what happened was Dad would be going like this, and then he'd literally just go and just punch me in the side of the head. Now that's so easy to defend against, but my mind was, my Dad would never do that because that's a silly attack. If he opens his guard up like that, I'm going to hit him. So I thought, he'll never do that. So therefore I was focused in here. Same with, I did to one of my students recently, doing all this, one of my most senior students, I couldn't, pretty much can't get him. I'll get him as much as he gets me. But I thought, okay, time to finish now, I've got to go and teach class. I'll do a silly move, he's going to throw me on my ass when I do this move. So I just chucked a back spinning kick at him. Now I'm not very good at back spinning kicks, they're not one of my things that I train, but I can do them okay in order to train someone, to defend against them. So I've gone something like this, and I've stepped back and pulled my spinning kick, which I can't do in these jeans, and I've literally just gone, and luckily I pulled it, but just slapped him in the side of the face. And he's gone, oh my God. He was so shocked in himself that he didn't see that coming, because he'd never seen that body structure, that body mechanic. In his mind, when I went like this, I'm moving away from him. So in his mind, he went, what? And as he goes, what? The kick's back around and hit him. Now, because he's seen that just once, every time I go like this, boom, he punches me in the back of the head and stops me instantly. So this is what I'm saying about, don't look at your push hands as a competition. Don't think, okay, I've got to try to get him every time, because that means I'm only training him to learn to defend against the moves I like best. I'm not a grappler. I can wrestle, but I'm not a trained grappler. If I tried to grapple another grappler, I'd have my ass handed to me every time. There's no way I could defeat a grappler doing grappling, because I don't train grappling. I train hitting. However, I'm still going to try my best to try to grapple my partner to train him. And then if he defeats me every time with his grapple, then I might go, okay, who's a grappler in class? Okay, you're a grappler, you've trained grappling, get with him, I want you to attack him with grapple attacks so that he can have a chance at defending himself against a really good grappler, unlike myself who's just a mediocre grappler. So any type of technique goes. However, on the defense side of things, we always want to use the most practical things. Because when I defend myself, I want the things that will work best in the street to become my subconscious reflexive action. If my subconscious action, my natural instinct, is to grab, that means when Lee attacks me, and I grab in some way, like the grappler type of thing, I've used what's not going to defeat him. So I might have grabbed him, but he's going to release that and then keep hitting me. In a real street situation, you haven't got much chance to get that first shot in, because you're stood there, you're chatting to your friend or something, and he's just on you in an instant. I'm not talking about a fight where it's like, oi, come on! There's not that kind of a fight, that's an ego fight. I'm talking about some bloke just walking along, coming up here, and just attacking you without any instigation of what's going to happen whatsoever. You've got to learn to just raise your hands and shove your fingers into his eyeballs or into his throat. So on the defensive side of things, let's say, for example, okay, you do an attack, just slowly so I can talk about it. Okay, so he's doing that, right? I do not want my instinctive action against that movement to be the back turning kick. Because if he tries to do that and I turn away, he's going to defeat me, because a back turning kick is not the best attack from this distance. Sure, if you're fantastic at back turning kicks, from here, that's okay. What's going to come in, boom, you might be able to get that in before he gets to you. But in an instant reaction, no matter how fast you are at a kick simply cannot, there's no way my foot can go from there to there in the time that my hand can go from here to here. It's closer, and it's a smaller object, it can move faster. So in defense, you want to only use practical methods. You use your non-practical methods in attack. When we're attacking, we're making a conscious decision to attack. So I'm not reacting as such. If I'm doing my push hands here, I'm thinking, all right, I'm going to try to get Lee with one of these back spinning kicks. Okay, I'm thinking about it. This is not instinctive action. I'm thinking, okay, when's the timing right? When's the timing right? Oh, okay, I'm going to try and do the back spinning kick. Whereas if Lee attacks me with sorry. If Lee attacks me with something, I haven't got time to think, oh, I'll do a back spinning kick, or oh, I'll do this. I've only got time for my body to react with whatever comes instinctively to me. So this is why in your defense you should always practice the most dangerous methods. You want to practice this kind of thing. You do not want to practice a punch on the chin, for example. You don't want to practice your reflexive action to methods that are for competition. In a competition, you don't want to kill the guy. You just want to have a bit of a bump, you know, score some points, that kind of thing. You don't want to punch him in the throat and kill the guy just for the sake of winning a point. However, if you train 90% of your training in the ring, and maybe do a little bit of self-defense training, whatever you do most of in your training is going to become your natural reaction. It's going to become your instinctive reaction. So if your instinctive reaction is training 90% of the time to attack the chin, you know, to attack with a glove on, to not aim anywhere at the neck, to not aim at the back of the head, to not aim at the groin, not aim at the eyes, then you're training your subconscious to always go for the stronger areas of your partner rather than the weaker areas. So if you want to do competition stuff, that's fine, but make sure that doesn't become more than your self-defense training if you want to get the best at your self-defense training. Okay, so in your push hands, once you get to an advanced stage in your push hands, at a basic level, you do pushing. Nice controlled motions. This stops people getting hurt. This stops people losing an eye or blowing an eardrum or becoming infertile. So we just do the pushing. Once you're very good at the pushing, you're showing good response in all of the practical natures of push hands. You've got good grounding, stability, balance, movement, all of that kind of stuff. Then you move on to the striking. So at the advanced stages of your push hands, the rule is, if you do something wrong, you get hit. When I used to train every day with my dad, if I did something wrong, so let's say, for example, you're me and I'm dad, which doesn't work because I'm actually taller than dad, but... so, okay, let's say, for example, Lee's doing something wrong, right? So, I don't know, his pung's weak, say, for example. I do not, at an advanced stage I'm talking about, if Lee is a beginner and his pung is weak, I just push him over, just to keep it easy and safe, so that no one gets hurt. If Lee himself, for example, had a weak pung, I would not push through his pung. I would strike him across the neck. Neck areas, I'm not going to really hit him in the neck because it's simply too sensitive. However, I will, to make sure he gets used to shock, as you will have seen in that previous video, I will smash him across the face or punch him in the guts. Because you've got to get used to getting hit in realistic self-defense. Otherwise, first little strike you take, you're going to go into shock and not know what's hit you. So, anytime if you strike into areas which are safer, the throat, even just that much pressure, and you're going to have to sit down and cough up blood all afternoon. So you still attack the neck by all means, but you stop the strike before it actually does the damage. But if I'm hitting anywhere else that's kind of okay to hit, even in the groin, quite often, ideally we don't hit each other here, and the eyes, of course. But mistakes happen. In both Lee and I have got sore right eyes at the moment from that previous demonstration because I got a lovely shot across Lee's eye. He got a nice gouge down my eye. We didn't try to hurt each other's eyes, but sometimes in the moment you just get a bit too much yang energy up and you will get hit. Same with the groin. There's been several times where Lee's come around, spun and slapped me on the tip of the, got to keep this censored. So yeah, mistakes happen, but we don't try to maim each other, of course. But areas where it's safer, I know that if I punch Lee in the guts, even if it's a pretty substantial shot, it's not going to do any long-term damage or anything. It's just going to take the wind out of him and teach him about getting hit. So this is why we actually hit each other. So in your advanced stages of push hands, if you get something wrong, you get hit. The rules of push hands, let's say for example Lee and I have never met, we're from two different martial arts schools, two different Tai Chi schools. Oh, let's do some push hands, right? I don't like to call it a challenge. I think challenging someone is stupid. Because why would you want to prove yourself better than another martial artist? We should all be the same, trying to prove ourselves against some idiot in the street trying to kill us. But why do I want to prove that I'm better than another martial artist? This is why I don't agree with competitions. But if, several times, if you're a martial art teacher, you're going to get other schools come up to you and say, oh, come on, let's see how good you are. Let's do some push hands. And I've trained with other push hands Tai Chi masters, and the pushing part of things, they're very good at, because that's what they've practiced. But they've practiced it from a sense of pushing, not from a sense of striking, like I've been talking about. So they've taken the bigger stance, and they're pushing on me, and I'm using my stuff and just following along, just doing this. But then if he actually does manage to, let's say for instance, grab my arm and pull me off balance, for example, I instinctively react. So I'm not going to instinctively react with this. I'm going to instinctively react with this. And if it's, someone else, if it's someone trying to be arsey towards me, I won't hurt him again, but I will just give him a good slap in the face, just to explain, well, that was a silly move because I've hit you now. A lot of people will be, oh, what did you do? You can't do that, that's not push hands. So in their push hands there's rules. If they do that, I'm not allowed to do this. I'm only allowed to do this. In our rule of push hands, there are no rules. There are literally no rules. If I get hit, it's because I did something wrong. It's not because, or maybe I didn't do something wrong, but maybe he was just really good at hitting. However, there is no time in your push hands training where I can, for instance, let's say Lee punches me in some way, he hits me. There is no way, no time I can ever say something like, oh, you only got me because you changed your stance. Or you only got me because you moved your feet, you're not allowed to move your feet. Things like this. These are silly games when two advanced practitioners are training. So, as I say, there are no rules whatsoever. I can throw a back spinning kick if I want. I can pick up a bat and hit it with it. I can do whatever I want. There are no rules because push hands is teaching about street fighting, and there are no rules in street fighting. Okay, so I hope that's given you a good rounded idea of what push hands is all about. This is of course the original style of push hands as originally intended by Yang Chan, founder of Tai Chi Chuan. The modern day push hands, as we've been explaining, it's great if you want to learn how to do push hands, but it does not teach you what push hands is designed to teach you. So I hope you've been able to get some ideas from this. As I said, this is not a teaching DVD. Don't try to learn the methods from this. You're not going to learn the methods from this. We have other videos, or come to classes and learn the push hands practice. What this video is for, what you should get from this is the training you're already doing. Whatever school of Tai Chi you might be practicing, if you're practicing push hands, you don't have to learn our exact method of push hands, but just try to change your mindset to this kind of attitude in your push hands. So you might have different actual structures in your push hands to what we do. However, you just want to apply that mindset, that it's learning about fighting. If you are good at push hands, you should be good at fighting. If someone says, I'm a master of push hands, I am fantastic at push hands, and you go, great, let's do some push hands. Boom! He's not good at push hands, because he can't stop a punch. You can't stop a punch, and push hands is not working for you. Thank you very much to Lee. Thank you for watching. Thank you very much.
Sweet, man.